What I'm about to share with you isn't popular. It's not politically correct, and you won't hear it from mainstream relationship advice. But every single thing I'm going to tell you today is backed by observable patterns that men experience over and over again, patterns that nobody warned them about. These aren't attacks, they're not bitter rants, they're psychological insights about relationship dynamics that can save you years of confusion and pain. If you're willing to hear them, today we're covering 6 facts about female psychology and modern relationship dynamics that most men learn the hard way. Some of you will resist what I'm saying. Some of you will recognize exactly what I'm describing because you've lived it. Either way, by the end of this video, you'll see relationships differently than you did before. Let's get into it. And before we start, I know some of you will say not all women are like this. You're right, not all women are like this. But enough women demonstrate these patterns that every man needs to understand them. The goal isn't to demonize women. The goal is to protect yourself by understanding dynamics that nobody else is going to warn you about. The first fact is something men sense but rarely articulate. Many women maintain an internal rating system that constantly evaluates their partner's worth. This isn't conscious for most of them. It's not malicious. It's a background process running at all times, assessing your value based on how you show up day to day, your status at work, your confidence when challenges arise, how other people treat you, how you handle stress, how you lead or fail to lead in daily situations. All of this feeds into a mental score that determines how she feels about you in any given moment. When your perceived value is high, she's affectionate, attentive, engaged. She brags about you to her friends. She initiates intimacy. She's invested in your happiness. When your perceived value drops, you lose your job, you become passive, you stop leading, you let yourself go, something shifts. The affection cools, the respect diminishes. She becomes critical of things she used to overlook. Small annoyances become major issues. Here's what most men don't realize. By the time she's expressing dissatisfaction verbally, her internal scorecard has already been declining for weeks or months. The complaints you're hearing aren't the beginning of the problem. They're the warning that you're approaching a threshold. And when that threshold is crossed, when your score drops too low for too long, she doesn't always tell you. She doesn't always give you a chance to fix it. Sometimes she just starts quietly scanning for alternatives. This is why relationships seem to end suddenly from the man's perspective. He thinks everything was fine until it wasn't. But from her perspective, she'd been watching his score decline for a long time. He just wasn't paying attention to the metrics she was tracking. Now, is this fair? Is it kind? That's not really the point. The point is that this dynamic exists, and understanding it gives you the ability to recognize when your value is slipping before it's too late to course correct. The takeaway isn't to become paranoid about every interaction. It's to understand that your behavior compounds over time. Small slips accumulate. Consistent leadership accumulates too. She's always watching, always evaluating, whether she realizes it or not. Here's what men miss. Women communicate through behavior before they communicate through words. The scorecard manifests in how she touches you, how she responds when you speak, how she talks about you to others, how much effort she puts into her appearance when she's around you. If you learn to read these signals, you'll know where you stand long before any conversation. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Once her score for you drops below a certain threshold, words alone won't bring it back. You can't negotiate attraction. You can't convince her to respect you. You have to rebuild value through action. And sometimes the window for that has already closed before you realize there was a problem. The second fact is harder to hear. Some women maintain backup options while in committed relationships. Not all women, not most women, but enough that you need to be aware of the pattern. Here's how it works. A woman in a relationship notices that her partner's trajectory is declining. Maybe he's lost ambition. Maybe his career has stalled. Maybe he's just not the man she thought he would become. Her internal scorecard is dropping, and she's not sure it will recover. Rather than address this directly, which would require vulnerability and might lead to conflict, she hedges. She maintains relationships with other men that appear innocent on the surface. Old friends, co-workers, guys from the gym. Nothing physical happens. Nothing overtly crosses the line. But these connections serve a purpose. They're insurance policies. If the current relationship fails, she won't have to start from zero. She'll have options already warmed up and waiting. Men often miss this because they evaluate loyalty differently. For many men, you're either faithful or you're not. The idea of maintaining backup options while committed seems like obvious infidelity. But for some women, as long as nothing physical has happened, she can tell herself she's done nothing wrong. The giveaway signs are subtle. She's protective of her phone. She has male friends who clearly have romantic interest in her, but she downplays it. She maintains contact with exes for reasons she can't quite explain. When you express discomfort, she accuses you of being insecure or controlling. The psychology here isn't complicated. Security is a core female need. And some women pursue security through redundancy, making sure they're never truly dependent on one man's continued commitment or success. The solution isn't to become jealous or controlling. The solution is to be the man who renders backup plans unnecessary. When your value is consistently high, when your trajectory is upward, when you're clearly her best option, she has no reason to hedge. But if you've let yourself slip, if your score has been declining, understand that her loyalty may be conditional on factors you've stopped paying attention to. One more thing about this pattern: it's often invisible until it's too late. Men discover the backup plan existed only when the relationship ends and she moves on suspiciously fast. How did she find someone new so quickly? Because she'd been cultivating that connection for months while still with you. The betrayal isn't always physical. Sometimes the deeper betrayal is emotional. Giving another man access to her thoughts, her doubts, her complaints about you. By the time she leaves, she's already emotionally transferred to someone else. You were the last to know. The third fact is uncomfortable but increasingly observable. Modern culture has shifted many relationships toward transactional dynamics. A generation ago, marriage was understood as a partnership where both people contributed different things. He provided resources and protection. She provided nurturing and home management. Both sacrificed individual desires for the family unit. Neither kept score because the arrangement was assumed to be mutually beneficial. Today, that model has been disrupted and nothing clear has replaced it. What many men encounter instead is a transactional framework where relationships are evaluated primarily on what they provide, not what both people build together, what she extracts from the arrangement, lifestyle, experiences, financial security, social status, access to opportunities she couldn't get alone. When a woman operating in this framework evaluates a potential partner, she's not primarily asking, do we connect? Do we share values? Could we build something together? She's asking, what does he bring to my life? What level of lifestyle can he provide? What doors does he open? Social media has accelerated this dramatically. Women are constantly exposed to curated images of luxury, travel, and affluence. Influencers monetize the appearance of an aspirational lifestyle. And ordinary women absorb the message that they deserve that lifestyle too, they just need to find the right man to fund it. This creates a dating environment where many women have minimum income thresholds for potential partners, not based on whether that income would support a family, but based on whether it would support the lifestyle she's been taught to expect. Men earning below a certain amount become invisible, not because those men lack character, ambition, or the ability to be good partners, but because they don't meet the transactional threshold that modern culture has normalized. The risk for men is entering relationships where the foundation is transactional without realizing it. He thinks they're building something together. She's calculating what she's getting out of the deal. When the benefits decrease, he loses his job, his business struggles, his income drops. The relationship ends, not because love failed, but because the transaction stopped being profitable. The protection against this is brutal honesty during dating. Watch what she responds to. Is she attracted to you or to what you provide? Does she invest in the relationship or only consume from it? Would she stay if your circumstances changed? If you can't confidently answer those questions, you might be in a transaction rather than a relationship. The legal system amplifies this risk. Divorce, in many jurisdictions, doesn't distinguish between partnerships built on love and transactions that expired. When the transaction ends, when she decides the deal no longer serves her, the law still splits assets, awards alimony, and distributes what you built as if both parties contributed equally. Men who've been through this often describe feeling like they were unknowingly funding an exit strategy. He thought they were building together. She was accumulating until she had enough to leave comfortably. This isn't every woman. But it's enough women that you need to be discerning. Pay attention to how she talks about money, about security, about what she deserves. Watch whether she invests in the relationship or simply consumes from it. These patterns reveal themselves if you're willing to see them. The fourth fact challenges a common assumption. Many women who appear confident are privately consumed by anxiety about aging and declining attractiveness. Modern culture tells women that their appearance is their primary source of value. It also tells them that this value has an expiration date. The combination creates a constant background hum of anxiety that men rarely see directly. Women are acutely aware of how they compare to other women. Social media makes this comparison constant and unavoidable. Every scroll is a reminder of someone younger, thinner, more beautiful. Every like is a metric of relative attractiveness. Every year that passes feels like value slipping away. This anxiety drives behavior that men often misread. The obsession with appearance isn't vanity, it's fear. The preoccupation with age isn't superficiality, it's genuine concern about losing the leverage she believes her looks provide. For single women approaching certain age thresholds, this anxiety intensifies. The pressure to secure a partner, to lock down resources, to establish security before her perceived value declines further. It creates urgency that shapes her decisions. This is why some women settle for men they're not genuinely attracted to, why some push for commitment faster than the relationship naturally warrants, why some become increasingly critical of men who waste their time without moving toward marriage. The anxiety is real, the pressure is real, the fear of ending up alone as youth fades is real. What men need to understand is that this anxiety can make women behave in ways that seem irrational or desperate because on some level they are desperate. They're operating from a scarcity mindset driven by the belief that their window is closing. This doesn't make them bad people, it makes them human. But it does mean that the confident exterior you see often masks significant insecurity underneath, and that insecurity can drive decisions that don't serve either partner well. Here's what this looks like in practice. A woman approaching 30 starts putting more pressure on the relationship to progress. She needs milestones moving in together, engagement, marriage on a timeline that feels urgent to her, even if it doesn't match the natural pace of the relationship. She's not being unreasonable from her perspective. She's racing against a clock she believes is counting down. Men who don't understand this dynamic get blindsided by ultimatums that seem to come out of nowhere. Where is this going? I need commitment or I'm leaving. I'm not getting any younger. These aren't threats, they're expressions of genuine anxiety about running out of time. The tragedy is that decisions made from anxiety rarely lead to good outcomes, rushing into marriage to beat the clock, settling for a man who's available rather than one who's right, prioritizing security over compatibility because the fear of being alone feels worse than the reality of being with the wrong person. The fifth fact explains a pattern that destroys relationships men thought were working. Boredom is far more dangerous than most men realize. Modern culture has created an expectation of constant stimulation. Entertainment is endless and always available. Social media delivers new content every second. The dopamine hits come fast and frequent. Many women have become wired for novelty. The stable, predictable comfort that long-term relationships provide starts to feel boring. Not bad, not wrong, just flat, understated.